What is going on, people? I hope you guys are doing amazing today. It is Wednesday, June 28th, and it's been a pretty good day so far. I hope it's been the same for you guys as well. As always, go ahead and subscribe, share, like, and comment down below to let me know what exactly you guys are seeing in the future for this Dallas Mavericks team. Is it something that you're excited about? Are you pretty much just feeling very positive about the outlook and the direction of the team right now? Because we've added a few pieces. Let's see where it takes us. This past Monday, the Dallas Mavericks finally introduced our two new young rookie first-round picks, Derek Lively, center out of the University of Duke, and Olivier Maxence Prosper, or Omax, out of the University of Marquette. We finally have now seen this team flip that whole narrative. The Dallas Mavericks are starting to get old. We had a lot of players on last year's team, a few players that had kind of reached their peak. We know what they are. They're not going to get much better. Whether you're talking about a Dorian Finney-Smith, we're talking about a guy like a Spencer Dinwiddie. We've seen what exactly these guys are. We know that they're probably not going to get much better, just for the simple fact they are what they are. At this point, Dorian Finney-Smith, you're looking at a guy that's your three-point defensive specialist in a sense. You're talking about a Spencer Dinwiddie. He's your secondary ball handler, secondary playmaker. But we saw that we feel like we could get better at those spots. And hopefully, I feel like this is the start. Press conference was pretty much Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd pushing the lines and pretty much just letting everybody know how excited they are to have these two new young guys on the team. They're going to bring hustle. I feel like they're going to bring hustle. They're going to bring the extra effort plays that will, at the end of the game, sometimes it's not going to show up in the stat sheet a lot of times, but you'll be able to also look up and see that it helped you bring you to a victory. Hopefully we can get many of those because of Derek Lively. We've seen he has the ability to pretty much just be that rim protector that we're looking for. Well, we have not had since consistently since that Tyson Chandler. We have now, you're looking at a guy like Omax. He's going to be, to me, I feel like he has the body type. We're talking about a guy with a 7'1", 7'2" wingspan. I feel like he has the ability to play, especially in the way that the NBA is now, that 3 or 4. I say the 4 position to me I don't think it's going to be anything that's out of the realm of possibility for him, just for the simple fact, I feel like he does have the physicality for it. I feel like he does have the intensity for it, because if you're watching his highlight tapes, his highlights, or even just his film in general from college, he is going to be a guy that's going to be that pest. He's going to fly around. He's going to make those hustle plays. And he has somewhat of a three-point game. We want to see it, of course, keep improving and developing. But I feel like he has that mix of just tenacity and physicality. But also, if we can work his offensive game, because at this point, what I feel like he can add in year one is going to be a guy that can cut to the basket. A guy that, and he believes it himself. He said many times in the press conference, he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to hustle, attack the rim, and make cuts, and just pretty much be that guy out there that's going to, again, just add winning plays to this team. Going back to Derek Lively, we're talking about now a 7'1", 7'2" guy with about a 7'7" wingspan. That's insane. We're talking about a guy, again, also, don't get lost. I feel like I've had to say this so many times over the last week. You can't get too lost over a guy and looking at his college stats when you're talking about a guy that you're hoping can be a more high intensity, high impact role player for you. He also, if you're going back and watching him with the Duke team, they have a guard, a starting point guard, essentially, in quotation, whatever that is, averaging about 4 assists. That's not literally too much. It's not doing too much distributing, because a lot of times the college game is so shrunk down. A lot of these systems are meant to bring in these athletic shot makers and shot creators. And a lot of times that can take you to the promised land in college hoops. But it's not going to help you when you're talking about looking at the stat sheets and helping just pretty much up the stock for other guys that are going to be your role players. We're talking about a Derek Lively play with another 7-footer in Duke. Average about 7, 8 rebounds. So of course there's only so many rebounds to go around. Do not get lost in what these college stats are. I feel like Derek Lively is going to be that player that we're going to look up and say he literally is a spitting image of Tyson Chandler, as also stated by Jason Kidd, with who he feels has a better potential, pretty much, to be an offensive weapon, I guess. Because if anything, if we get a guy that can stretch the field, stretch the court, if we seen a guy like a Derek Lively, if his three ball is able to actually be semi-consistent in year one, I'm not expecting too much out of the simple fact you have to let him get his NBA body. You're going to have to let him get the NBA, just the small details of actually being a team defender and a rim protector. Because one thing you don't want to see, and you will see a lot of times with young shot blocking hunters, is foul trouble. I feel like we're going to have to bring him along slowly, which according to a report came out yesterday, I believe, from The Athletic, Derek Lively is going to be pretty much brought along slowly, which that's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to any of us. Derek Lively brought, to me, he just brought more of a future expectations. It's something that you're looking on in year 2, year 3, maybe even possibly by the middle of year 1 or end of year 1, that he's now a consistent contributor to this rotation. I'm not going to be down on anything right now when it comes to what we did in the NBA draft, because again, also adding the ability to get a guy like Richaun Holmes. That's going to take me to further points about possible trade moves this team can still make. But bringing in a guy like a Richaun Holmes to be either whether an asset to this team or asset in acquiring more assets for this team, and just getting an Omax and getting a Derek Lively, those are big when we're talking about switching up the culture. We saw most of our issues last year came from the defensive end, came from the rebounding. And you literally, excuse me, ambulance going by, it's all good. All right, there we go. So again, getting back to just what these guys are going to be able to bring, you're going to allow a Derek Lively to come along slowly. And that is, to me, it's the best idea for what you're looking for, a guy that you're hoping can be possibly be a consistent contributor, because now you have a few guys on this team under the age of 25. We're talking about, as great as Luka Doncic has been so far to begin his career and what he's done, we're talking about a guy that's still only 24 years old. That, I feel like, gets lost because, again, all of his accolades, whether overseas or since he's been in the NBA, this is still a young guy. Also, you're talking about a Jaden Hardy, you're talking about a Josh Green. You're still talking, now you're adding an Omax, Olivier Maxence Prosper. You're adding a Derek Lively. These are guys that are 24 and under, by 2019. You can't ask for too much when it comes to your youth development. Jason Kidd said that many times in the press conference. This is pretty much now, we have guys that we can watch develop, that we can help develop. That way, when you're looking off in a couple years, and now you're not having to sit here and try to figure out how many veterans are we going to have. Most of these guys now are going to be looking in year 3, 4, and on. And hopefully that's going to be able to give us that push to the future that we're really looking for. Back to the Richaun Holmes acquisition from the Sacramento Kings. We now have learned, according to Mark Stein, NBA Insider, he reported, I believe yesterday, that on draft night, the Dallas Mavericks had actually been in talks with the Phoenix Suns on a possible trade acquisition for center DeAndre Ayton. The deal was going to be reportedly involve Tim Hardaway Jr., Richaun Holmes after he was acquired, and JaVale McGee. But apparently the talk stalled because the Phoenix Suns were not interested in taking back JaVale McGee, which is ironic because he was just on their team. But we're talking about a 35-year-old guy in JaVale McGee making about $5-6 million, I believe, this year. The Phoenix Suns are trying to add solid role players at this point because now they're also limited on funds, because you're looking at a guy, they now added Bradley Beal to their situation. They also still have Kevin Durant. They also still have Devin Booker. And now DeAndre Ayton is sitting on your books also. These are guys making max money or just big amounts of money that it's going to somewhat, of course, limit what you can also do for the rest of your roster, because you have to fill out those bench guys. You have to fill out a six-man's position, things like that. But not wanting to take JaVale McGee back stall those talks. But also, according to Mark Stein, that does not completely rule out that the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns could also get back into talks about a DeAndre Ayton, because at the same time, if it will honestly kind of to follow along the concept that the Dallas Mavericks want to bring along a Derek Lively at a slower pace, just to allow him to develop, get in the weight room, get all that stuff down. And bringing in a DeAndre Ayton that was talking about still a young guy, young center with potential. Me personally, I'm not the biggest fan, because one thing I will say, when it comes to the center position, there's not anything I ever want to pretty much have to worry about when it comes to effort, physicality, your focus, having your mental where it needs to be on game days. I believe in DeAndre Ayton's talent. Let's start there. I definitely believe in his talent. It's just, it all needs to be put together, because we can't risk having another situation like a Porzingis. The issue that brought, whether it was availability and whether it's just not Luka and that guy being on the same page. We cannot have that, because we're talking about the face of our franchise. That's going to be a type of deal that could possibly wreck the rest of your future. And we're talking about trying to add young guys, but also at the same time remain somewhat contending while you're letting these guys develop and add real important pieces as you go. Let's be clear. I'd be very okay with the DeAndre Ayton trade. It wouldn't upset me anything. But there are some questions that he would have to be answered. And I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure if it gets picked back up, but I definitely would be for it. Let's also, like I said, but at the same time, I want everybody to kind of temper their expectations, because you do know at the same time, it's all about fit. It's all about chemistry. It's all about guys being on the same page and doing what they need to do as a team. So we'll see how that plays out. Also, over the last couple of days, it's big news. You can take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean much, whatever. Tim Hardaway Jr. changes his number to number 10, formerly Dorian Finney-Smith's number. So now Kyrie Irving was able to take the number 11 that Tim Hardaway Jr. had, because Derek Lively takes over the number 2. And also, just adding in, Max's number will be number 18 with this team. But what does that mean? Is that kind of like a sign, I guess, that Kyrie Irving will be returning to this team? That could be big on that, because apparently, according to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN, he reports it seems to be a foregone conclusion that Kyrie Irving will agree to a re-signing with the Dallas Mavericks this Friday. I believe July 1st is where the free agency stage of this offseason starts to pick up. And I believe the 6th is where you can actually sign the contracts. But it could be a sign that Kyrie is banking on being here. A lot of these moves may be to appease his situation with Luka Doncic, because if those are going to be your two starting guys, top 2 guys on your team, that's a great start, but you still have to make sure that the pieces around them fit, which also takes to the fact that we have a mid-level exception. And I think it's worth about $12.4 million, 12.5, something like that. Grant Williams from the Boston Celtics, he is now coming up lots of times and over repeatedly as possibly a candidate who the Dallas Mavericks would love to sign with that full mid-level exception, which would be about a full 12.5 mil. That is a nice deal, I say, for a guy that you feel can bring some intensity, and whatever that means. He's a Luka guy. He loves Luka. He wears the Luka shoes, the Jordans, and everything. So I'd be big on Grant Williams. I also want to take a look at a guy like a Bruce Brown. I'm not sure if his money will match, because I feel like he possibly could get a little bit more, maybe about a 15 mil a year contract, somewhere around there. But I'd be very interested in a Bruce Brown, a guy like that. Grant Williams, to me, when we're now getting into the talk of guys like Dylan Brooks, the Houston Rockets have lots of interest in him. I want to take a deep look at this Grant Williams situation, because, like I said, it's all about the pieces that you put around Luka and Kyrie. It's not per se just them. It's what you bring and put around them. And you're going to want some physicality. So a guy like an Olivier Maxence Prosper, you're going to have guys like that can play somewhat on the wing, but they can also get down low. Because when you know one thing you're going to be doing for sure is when you're playing a Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving led team, you're going to have your opportunities, because just the simple fact that what the other team's defense will have, the attention it'll have to bring to those two high-level players. Now, also, the Dallas Mavericks are very interested, reportedly, in Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors. I'm not sure what that trade package would look like, because now we're getting to contracts such as Reggie Bullock I believe today is the day that his contract became fully guaranteed. I believe it's about 10.5 mil, somewhere around there. It will be, to me, I'll say, let's not sleep on the fact that Reggie Bullock could still be a trade piece. I'm not saying it's for sure, but he could be a trade piece, whether it's now or whether it's closer to the All-Star, I don't say All-Star, but the trade deadline during the NBA season. Because when you're getting close to talking about guys on expiring contracts and a capable guy like a Reggie Bullock, he can shoot the three-point ball fairly decent at a 38% clip, I believe last year was. It's nice and solid because if you're looking for a spot-up guy and a guy that you can trust. Now, he's not locked down defensively, but Reggie Bullock will give you effort. He'll give you some effort when it comes to that ball. And a lot of times, to me, I'm a big believer. Defense is majority about effort. Can you get yourself in position, but can you just fight? That's exactly what it's about, fight and hustle. So we'll see where this goes. Like I said, lots of rumors going around for the Dallas Mavericks at this point of the offseason. Just knowing that Summer League will be getting close to us real soon. So we'll see what this team goes. I mean, like I said, it's one thing I will say. Nico Harrison has shown that if Mark Cuban especially, get out of the way, let him handle let him be the salesman that you brought him in to be and see where he can take it. And he seems to have a direction for himself, at least in his own mind. And Jason Kidd spoke to that in the press conference also. Nico Harrison is now being able to do his thing, and he's showing his capability as a general manager. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the now, because now we at least have hope. What we're looking for is hope. By the time that this regular season ended, I was very low on hope, because at some point you're having to ask yourself, what are you willing to get rid of? What big chances are you willing to take? Because you cannot have another season like we did last season. That's going to be detrimental to this fan base. It's going to be detrimental to possibly a guy like Luka Doncic, because he has bigger horizons. He wants championships. He wants to be in the mix of deep playoff runs pretty much every year. You can't blame him for it. Let me know how you guys feel. Are you excited, like I said, about this team's direction now? Are you excited about some of these young players? What do you still feel that we need to add to this team? I believe we still need to add another center, because we can't go into this offseason light. I love what Dwight Powell brings as just a community guy, a locker room guy, a team guy. But let's be clear, I don't want to see Dwight Powell playing very big, meaningful minutes, because if that happens, that tells me we did not completely shore up everything we needed for this offseason. And I personally will say, I don't see Nico Harrison just letting us go into the regular season with what we just have right now. So go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and share. Go ahead and like. And also, again, go ahead and comment down below. What do you think about this team? Are you excited for the future? Are you excited for the now? Are you disappointed still in some things? Let me know down below. Like I said, I appreciate you guys as always. The channel is still growing. I appreciate it. We're going to get better. We're going to keep adding videos. I'm going to keep making moves for you guys. I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go MFFLs, Dallas Mavericks fans, or just basketball fans in general. You guys have a great one. And go Mavs.